Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
I stand over my shot. I'm in my address position. I take a nice long deep breath through my nose. I exhale through my nose. I visualize tension leaving my body. And then as I begin my inhale is when I begin my takeaway. Now for me, naturally, because I've been doing this for so many years, at the top of my backswing, before I begin my downswing, I start my exhalation. So I have a full exhalation at the point of impact.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Katherine Roberts was the first woman guest on Golf Smarter and is now making her fourth appearance on the show. She is a renowned golf performance coach, is a regular on the Golf Channel, and is the force behind Yoga for Golfers. She's provided us with so many great tips and advice in each appearance that whenever her schedule allows for her to return, we're ecstatic that she can join us. Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Katherine.
Yes, Fred.
It's been a long time since you've been on the show. I think it was about 2 years ago you were on the show. And
oh, my goodness.
It was at the end of 2007. Does that constitute 2 years? Yeah, I think it does. And,
it sure does.
And you were telling me about this program you were going to do with ESPN, Swing Fault Solution. And I said, well, if you need a guinea pig. And we ended up doing it.
I know. It was for the Golf Channel.
It was for the Golf Channel. And it's funny because the audience, I got an email from somebody in Europe saying, I saw some show on the Golf Channel Europe, and was that you? So I've not told anybody. And I'm glad I didn't tell anybody because I saw it, and I didn't want anyone to see me.
Oh, Fred, come on. You did great.
I looked terrible. And, boy, I'm glad I saw it because I saw a huge flaw in my swing that I never really recognized, and I've made a big change, and it's really helped.
That's fantastic. Well, you have to make the correlation, and this is, the title of the book is and the series was you have to make the correlation between your body and your swing flaws. Right.
And that's one of the things that I really like about your book. And I guess it plays off of what you were doing on that TV show for the Golf Channel, because the book Swing Flaws and Fitness Fixes, is that instead of video, which everyone is so hot on using video, there are photographs in here which really can isolate the issue so much better than on video. Because when you're watching video of yourself, you're seeing all this different stuff, and you're not really sure what you're supposed to look at. But when you just see a photograph, it's like, oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, video is a fantastic tool, but obviously technology changes and grows exponentially. So, now what we have available is 3D motion analysis. And what I decided to do in the book was take still images of 3D motion analysis of the top most common swing flaws so that the reader could see it and, as you said, say, oh, well, now that I see this even though it's a flat image, it's a screenshot of a 3D image, it enables the reader to, I think, see more clearly what's happening in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, in addition to looking at the 3D, I describe what's happening in the body for these common swing flaws. And then, of course, we have Hank Haney give his swing analysis of what he's seen after teaching 50,000 lessons with those common swing flaws as well. And then we give the fitness solutions.
It's a phenomenal combination to have somebody who's doing the fitness element to it, the flexibility side, and then have the quality of a Hank Haney who can talk about the swing and the mechanics. How did you get combined, teamed up with Hank Haney to do this?
Well, Hank and I, you mentioned ESPN, and for a number of years, I taught the fitness component for the Hank Haney Signature Golf Schools with ESPN Golf.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hank and I worked together for a number of years and worked with students. And essentially what I did with Hank on the practice tee is what I've done, and with the golf schools is what I've now done in the book. So, Hank would walk up and down the practice tee and look at his students, and I would look at them as well. And I always make this very clear. I don't teach golf. I'm a golfer. I've been playing golf my whole life, but I'm not a golf instructor. But I can look at someone's swing, and I can see what's happening biomechanically in their body, where there might be deficiencies in their flexibility, where they might need to build more strength, and even vice versa. So then what we would do is Hank would make his analysis. I would make my analysis based on the body, and then we would shoot video, and then each one of those students would then spend some time with me, and I would give them just maybe 5 to 10 exercises that would help them with their specific swing flaw. So in taking that concept, I wanted to do it as a book. So I've also been writing on this topic for years and years, as you well know, and so I approached Hank and I said, I think if I just write a golf fitness book, it's going to be just like kind of other golf fitness books that are out there, or just fitness books. I wanted something that was real specific to the golf swing. And I approached Hank, and he and I have become very good friends. And I said, would you be willing to write your analysis of these common swing flaws? And he was happy to do it. And I feel very blessed and very grateful that he was willing to participate in the book, because his analysis is invaluable. So and it's priceless. So it's really great to have what I see as the first book that's out there that's combining the swing and fitness very specifically, very directly.
Yeah, there's no question. And even what you did with the TV show with the Golf Channel was really interesting work, and yet you were working with Roger Fredericks on that, who's also a fitness guy more than a golf instructor, but he does both. Right?
Yeah, I mean Roger does both. He does do both. So that's why, again, because I'm not a golf instructor, I wanted to have someone that understood the body who could talk about the swing, and that's why, Roger and I did that project for the Golf Channel, which has done very well. But then to take it and be able to get even more detailed about what we did on the show in the book was really what I was looking to do. And, and maybe we can talk about this a little later, but there's also a lot of other chapters in the book that help golfers be better golfers as opposed to just the specific swing flaw.
Right. I'm curious to talk with you about, I just completed a video project with a company, a nonprofit, about teen obesity. And obesity is a huge issue in this country right now. And worldwide, it's getting worse. But let's take it to the golf course for a second, because you got guys like John Daly, who, are supposedly the everyman out there, and the guy hits the ball a ton. But he's not a great ambassador for not just golf or the golf tour. He's not a great ambassador for fitness. And the impact, and the impact that it has on somebody's round of golf. I mean, how often you see people who are out there and they're clearly beyond overweight. Even overweight is one thing, but beyond overweight, they can be termed obese if you look at the official the official definition of what obese is, and it really impacts not just the golf swing, but the enjoyment of a round of golf.
Yeah, I think that my objective, which has been my objective since I started in this business, was to help golfers play better, play longer, play injury-free, and most importantly, have more enjoyment out of the game. Here we are, you and I were talking about kind of the economic status of our society at the moment, So here you are, you've made this investment, How do you maximize the investment that you have in your game? Okay, and I'm a big believer in having the best technology. I firmly believe you have to have, the clubs that are fitted for you, the best balls, the apparel that protects you and helps you perform better. But at the same time, if so let's say now maybe people aren't playing as many rounds, or maybe they're not buying as many clubs, or maybe they're not taking as many lessons. How do you get the maximum enjoyment out of a round of golf? Well, one of the ways is you obviously want to play well, but you also don't want to be walking around with low back pain the whole time, or having your hips hurt, or pain in your shoulder, or feeling like you're exhausted after the 12th hole. So that's also part of, basically my methodology and what I've been trying to bring to golfers. The thing too about, golfers that are overweight or just our society and this level of obesity that we have, one of the things I try to get across to people is that you don't have to, commit 2 hours a day to have some success in to increase your flexibility. If you commit to 15 to 30 minutes 4 or 5 days a week, you will see tremendous difference in your golf swing and also, like I said, your energy level.
I don't know where to start with this. If we should focus on stamina, which, so many people, the term, the wheels have fallen off the wagon, right?
Sure.
At the 15th hole, even if they're not even walking the golf course, just being out there, and they start playing poorly, and it's like, the wheels have fallen, I'm falling, and they kind of quit at that point.
I know. Well, the fourth chapter of my book is called Accessing Your Untapped Power Source, and that is breathing. Most people do not know, how to breathe, when they breathe, if they're holding their breath, in either in the golf swing or just in everyday life. I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to the fact that you're walking around every day and you kind of go, like you're trying to take a deeper breath because you're exhausted. Well, breathing is one of the quickest ways that you can increase the energy in your body. So, and it's also a way that when you're playing golf, you can focus the mind. I loved watching the British Open with Tom Watson and then Stuart Stink winning. I guess it was around, it might have even been like the 16th hole of the last day. And the commentator was talking about Tom Watson was saying that he didn't really feel like he learned how to perform on the golf course until he learned how to breathe properly. And I thought that was very profound. And what he learned was that he inhales for a count of 4 and he exhales for a count of 4. And it keeps him mentally focused. It keeps his energy up. And I feel like I'm the only person in the golf fitness industry who even teaches breathing. And it's such an integral part. When you're holding your breath, what you're doing is you're setting your body into a fight or flight response. So it accelerates your heart rate. It makes it more difficult to focus. And how would someone know the importance of breathing, or really even how to breathe, or how it can impact their game and their life if they didn't learn how to do it? So that's why the chapter 4 is on breathing, and it doesn't come into my book until chapter 20, right? I made it early on in the book because it's important for golf. It's also very important for flexibility conditioning. You have to learn how to breathe. Holding your breath burns up unnecessary energy. And
mostly I see people holding their breath during the swing.
They do hold their breath during their swing.
I have one friend that when he swings, you can see and I'm afraid to say anything because it's not my place to say anything, but before he takes a swing, he takes a big breath, he lifts his shoulders up so they're practically squeezing his ears. Yeah. He looks so tense, and then he takes this big swing and is not happy with the results. And all I just want to say to him is drop your shoulders and let your breath out, and you'll probably have much more success. Yeah.
There's one of the main reasons that people experience swing flaws. Obviously there's biomechanical reasons, but is tension in the body. So a friend of mine, his name is, everyone should know this guy, Sean the Beast Pfister. Do you know Sean?
No.
He's an international long drive champion.
Oh, okay.
And Sean and I one day were talking. Actually, this is we were playing together during one of the Hootie and the Blowfish tournaments, and I saw him drive the ball 410 yards.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, so it was quite fascinating. So
how long does the ball stay in the air when it goes 410 yards? It must be up there for like 10 seconds.
I can't remember exactly how long it was, but I do remember that he hit it off the tee box, and it was a par 4, and he hit it into the green, and there were still some people on the green. But I said to Sean, what are some of the things that you think about? And he said, well, I take a nice deep breath, He said, and I visualized the tension leaving my body, especially in my forearms. And I'm thinking to myself, and for me this was like an aha moment, being someone that's been teaching breathing for 20 years. I'm thinking, okay, you know what this is? This is what I describe as effortless power. So the golf swing is really, it's this balance of freedom of movement and generating power at the same time.
Yeah, we've talked about powerless effort versus effortless power.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Sean's anecdote I find to be very interesting. The other thing is, I talk about, you want to have like a full exhalation at the point of impact. So the term I use is, how do you create maximum velocity at impact? Well, okay, so just before the U.S. Open was on, Wimbledon was on, okay? So when you're watching these guys, you're watching like Roddick and Federer play. And what do you hear when a tennis player hits the ball?
A grunt, a loud grunt.
You hear a loud grunt because
it's an exhale, right?
Right, a full, powerful exhalation. So they leave nothing left in the body and in the lungs. And what it also forces them to do is the next breath is a big inhalation. Well, I believe that golfers should be doing that same thing, right? You want to be fully exhaling at the point of impact.
Yeah, but what would happen if somebody did that on their drive, if they hit the ball.
I'm not suggesting that they grunt, but I am suggesting that they have some awareness of their breathing.
Okay.
And how do I mean,
it's one thing when these big drivers make a thunk sound that sounds like a metal bat, but if somebody had the thunk with a at the same
with
time,
a grunt, wouldn't that be great?
I wouldn't want to play 18 holes with somebody who did that every time.
No, I know. But even having that awareness. The other thing is, as you're walking between shots, to be taking long, slow, deep breaths, walking between each shot is a way that you keep your energy up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, is to be conscious of your breath while hopefully if you're walking the golf course, because, again, when you're in the golf cart, all you're doing is focusing on where's the ball, get to the ball, hit the ball, get in the cart, go to the ball, But if you're walking and if you can concentrate on your breathing, you can really get to a good rhythm for your day. And also notice if you start playing poorly, you'll probably notice that your breathing's changed, right?
Yeah, well, the breath is a mirror to what's happening in the mind. So when the mind is tense, it will manifest in the breathing. Your breathing, as I said, will become more rapid. When you're frustrated, so visualize this, okay? You're frustrated. You just had a triple bogey. You're walking off the green. You're walking to the next tee box. Your head is down. You're angry. Okay, do you think you're stepping up to that next tee box and teeing up the ball with a relaxed body? How are you going to create that effortless power when you're not aware of what's happening in your breathing?
You're absolutely right. It's so important.
It is so important. And so, again, that's why, in the 4th chapter in the book, this is accessing your untapped power source. I really believe it's an untapped power source for golfers is the efficient use of breathing.
So what would you do as a instructor in this case, how would you get somebody to get a good a breathing rhythm, to be conscious of it, to get into a state of mind where you really are paying attention to your breathing so you can find it? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the first thing you have to do, and this is what I teach my students, is I teach them breathing awareness off the golf course. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So like in that chapter 4, there's a number of exercises to do to help you develop that awareness. And so your listeners can just do this. If you lie on your back with your knees bent, and you take your fingertips and you just place them lightly on your rib cage, and you inhale for a count of 4 through the nose, and you feel the rib cage expand. And then you exhale for a count of 4, and you feel your rib cage contract, or relax, I should say. Okay. So even just doing that for 3 minutes and just focusing on the breathing and having that awareness, that's the place to start. You don't start out focusing on your breathing awareness in your golf swing when you're standing on the first tee of the Champions Club Championship. That's probably not a good place to start playing around with this.
No. So many people want to make changes during their round. It's like, no,
Right.
don't do that.
Right. So part of the way, the first step in having this awareness is to play around with these kinds of breathing exercises. And then the other thing is, like, when you're working on your flexibility, incorporating that breathing in your flexibility, you'll start to see and you'll notice that when you're holding your breath, you're not as pliable. You're not able to move deeper into the stretch, right? Because when you're holding your breath, you have tension.
Sure.
So when you start to incorporate it into your pre-round warm-up, when you start to incorporate it into your daily stretching routine, when you start to incorporate some of these just breathing exercises, then with that awareness, you can go to the practice tee and start playing around in your golf swing. I mean, I can tell you what I do when and this is just a very personal thing, but what I do is I stand over my shot. I'm in my address position. I take a nice long deep breath through my nose. I exhale through my nose. I visualize tension leaving my body. And then as I begin my inhale is when I begin my takeaway. Now, for me, naturally, because I've been doing this for so many years, at the top of my backswing, before I begin my downswing, I start my exhalation. So I have a full exhalation at the point of impact. Now, that's what works for me. And like I said, that's because I've also been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, you've developed that skill.
Yeah, it is a personal thing, but the whole point is, I share what works for me. But again, the whole point is discovering it for yourself and just making sure that you are breathing is key.
And that brings us back to the beginning of our conversation about being overweight, and
Right.
the impact of that will probably have a tremendous impact on your flexibility. No, we went right to breathing on that, but let's and your balance, right?
I think so, for sure. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, listen, John Daly hits the ball a heck of a long way,
right?
And he's had a great career in golf, and I don't know what's up with him today, but
do you know how many wins he has on the PGA Tour? I mean,
I don't know.
I only bring it up the other day now because the other day I did a show and we used this date in golf history talking about his last win was the British Open in '95. He's only had 5 wins on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, for somebody that garnered so many headlines and mostly negative, he's not really had that much impact on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, you see people who are not necessarily the specimen of fitness who still play golf very, very well.
Yes.
I mean, but this is the reality. There's very few tour players that don't work on their fitness now. I mean, let's go back to Tom Watson. I mean, look how he's able to turn. Look how he's able to play. I mean, you look at the guys that were, the top of their game, that are the same age as he is. They're not around anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're on the scene. They're competing with guys their own age. On the Champions Tour. But sure. You're right. The fact that he had so many things in balance within himself. His mind and his breathing and, and his game, that he was remarkable. It was such a joy to watch. It was so great to have another TW from Stanford, at the top of the game that day. I was like, I'm still rooting for TW. This is so great.
I mean, it was great because what I really felt out of the experience was it provides hope. And hope for people who want to continue to play the game. And I mean, 59 isn't that old, okay? But
for a professional athlete, it is.
Absolutely. I mean, to play at that level. I mean, one of my favorite rounds was last summer. I played with my uncle who's 90, his son who's 60, and his son who's 30, and myself.
Oh my goodness!
So I got to play with 3 generations, and it was. It was wonderful. It was because it showed me again that that golf is a game we want to be able to play well into the later years of our lives.
Well, isn't the goal you want to?
And by the way,
did he beat his age? I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? To be able to shoot under your age.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 90 was, that was a bit of a stretch. No,
yeah, exactly. But didn't your dad do
age.
that? Didn't your dad shoot his age once? Didn't you tell me this?
Yeah, my dad did. Yeah, my dad passed away at the age of 87, and he played golf until about 6 months before he passed away.
Oh, fabulous.
And he was definitely a role model for me, in many ways. But the other thing I was just going to say about the Open, let's not take anything away from Stewart Cink. That was quite a remarkable win.
Oh yeah. But it's almost like American Idol. It doesn't matter who wins. Just the last two guys standing. It's like, oh, you both win. Okay, fine. But somebody has to win. Yeah. And Stewart Cink had, he outlasted the pack. But it was just Tom Watson. It was just so much fun because of his history and his age. That made it so great. Another thing I want to talk about with you is balance. And I bring that up because I got an email from a listener who wanted to ask you this question, Shell Osnes of San Diego, California. And he says, I've read books by Ledbetter, John Redmond, Jack Nicklaus, Tommy Armour, and they all seem to say different things about the width of your stance at a dress. Now, Ledbetter's wider stance seems to limit hip rotation and promote swaying, where Redmond promotes a more narrow stance and says no more than the length of your natural stride is necessary. What's your thoughts about the width of your stance and how it impacts the balance in your swing?
Well, again, I'm very clear that I don't teach golf. So I wouldn't really want to make a comment on the width of your stance and balance. I mean, it would seem to make sense that if you have a wider stance, it helps support better balance. But I think that a lot of it has to do with mobility in your hips and mobility in your body. My stance can be more narrow, but because I have flexibility in my hips, it doesn't necessarily impact my rotation. This is just me personally. So again, it's not that I'm trying to avoid the question, but that to me seems like a question for a golf instructor, for this person's particular golf instructor. Now, having said that, though, his golf instructor should be able to, hopefully, can look at this person's body and say, you know what? You're swaying, and the reason you're swaying, and by the way, sway is one of our swing flaws in this book. One of the reasons you're swaying is you have a lack of mobility in your hips. So instead of being able to internally and externally rotate your hips the way we need to move them in the golf swing, because of that lack of mobility, you're swaying or sliding. So like my solution to that would be, I would say to this person, let me look at your golf swing. Send me a video of your golf swing. Let me get the feedback from your golf instructor as to what they see you're doing. Let me hear about what your goals and challenges are, and then let me give you a series of exercises. So combined with the PGA instruction, it's a more comprehensive approach. See what I'm saying? I'm not trying to avoid the question.
Yeah.
It's just that I think it's more complicated than just saying is wider or narrow stance better in terms of balance. I can't make a generalization like that.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, what I always love to do with you more than anybody else is get a drill or an exercise. And since we talked a lot about stamina, I try to stretch before each round, loosen things up. I take a walk in the morning, do my morning stretches and whatnot. But I have found that more often than not, I don't stretch throughout the round, and I start tightening up in my lower back. Can you give me an in-round stretch or drill that I can do and that we can all do together? To help keep us loose for the rest of our round, to keep us open and not tightening up for the back nine or the back five, the back six, critical time.
This is one of my favorite stretches to do with my students on the golf course. Okay? So we're going to say that if you're walking, we can do it this way. Okay, you hold on to your golf club with both hands. Okay?
I got it.
And the golf club, okay, so the club head is, okay, so you're holding onto the grip, top of the grip. You take, right now we're going to stretch the right external rotators, which is like the hips, the piriformis, the glutes of the right side. You're also going to feel it in the right lumbar spine, okay? So you're holding on to the golf club. Take your right ankle and pick it up and put it on the outside of your left knee. So if you're looking down, your legs look like the number 4.
Okay. So wait. So now I've got the golf club in my right hand, and the face of the club, the butt of the club, the end of the club is on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the top of the grip. You're holding the top of the grip.
Okay.
Okay. So now you take your right leg, pick up your right leg, and put your right ankle on the outside of your straight left knee.
Okay.
So now if you look down, right, you'll see like the number 4.
Sure. And your golf club is now your right leg. So you've got balance.
Yeah, no, you're holding, exactly. So you're holding on to the golf club. Now what you do is you bend your left knee and you sit back as if you're sitting your bum down in a chair.
Okay.
Okay, so the weight is in the heel. So you're sitting back and down.
Right. And the goal, I guess, would be to keep your back as straight as possible, because the tendency would be to lean forward to balance yourself.
Yeah, and what you want to do is you want to keep your back straight, but now this is the next phase. So that's what I would kind of call the birdie level, okay? The next level, that would be the kind of the par level. The birdie/eagle level now of this exercise would be, as you bend your left knee, you want to bring your sternum, your chest, towards your right shin.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So now you're getting that deep stretch through the right hip. Can you feel it a little bit in your low back as well?
Yeah. And the psoas right there on the right side, right? Is that not
it
a right hip?
It wouldn't be your psoas. It'd be your piriformis in your right hip.
Okay.
Okay, so you're bringing your chest down towards your shin.
And I'll give everyone a piece of advice. If you're going to do this drill, which is really fabulous, don't do it on the green. Because
no.
Because the amount of pressure
you're putting,
a
mark with your club.
Exactly, the amount of pressure you're putting down on that golf club by doing this, you're going to put a hole in the green with your club, and they're not going to be happy with you. So do this.
No, you don't want to do that.
Do this on the tee box.
Do it on the tee box for sure while you're waiting to tee off.
Yeah.
So that's the first one, and I love that stretch. Every student I show that to says, "Oh, I do this on the golf course all the time."
And do it with both, and then do it on the other side as well.
Yeah, and make sure you switch sides. The one other thing okay, so let me just add something here. If you are playing with a golf cart, what you can do is, instead of holding on to the golf club, hold on to the vertical stanchion of the golf cart. And then you can, so you know, like when you water ski, you sit back and you let the boat pull you up out of the water. It's a similar sensation. So you're sitting back, but you're letting your body kind of pull against the golf cart. Now, it'd be better if someone's sitting in the cart, because you don't want to tip the cart over.
I don't think I could do that.
Okay.
Could I do that? I don't think some people might be able to have enough balance weight to do that, but I can't.
Exactly. So what happens now is that stretch now becomes intensified, and you'll get that through the mid-back and the shoulders, as well as the low back and the hips.
And that'll open up a lot and really loosen you up.
Yep.
And then after you do it, make sure you take a couple practice swings before you swing the club.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, Katherine. Well, good luck on the new book. It's called Swing Flaws and Fitness Fixes. Fix your swing by putting flexibility, strength, and stamina in your golf bag, by Katherine Roberts, with swing analysis by Hank Haney. What a great team. Good luck with the book, Katherine, and good luck with all the other projects you got going.
Thanks, Fred.